Hello and thanks for joining me on this episode of Simply Saturday. I'm going to show you a card today that's fast and easy to make, but I have to tell you that the original card that I made was not quite so fast and not quite so easy. I'm going to show you that one as well, but first I'm going to try to use that card as my own inspiration and simplify it for you on our fast and easy card. So we are beginning with a card base that is made out of Pecan Pie cardstock, 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored and folded at 4.25 inches. Then I have a piece of crushed curry cardstock. This measures 4 inches by 5.25 inches. And this piece is going to be layered onto our card front like this. We are going to do some stamping on it, so I'm going to do that before I glue it. This piece, which is also 4 inches by 5.25 inches, is going to be our inside panel. And then we're going to do some decorating here. What I did was pre-cut a circle. This is from Spotlight on Nature, this set of dies. And there are 2 sets that go from smallest to largest. And this is one of those that is second down from the largest. So it just depends on which design you want. And I wanted this design, so I did my die cut circle out of that. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp on this crushed curry piece. And I am going to use my early espresso ink pad and the stamps that we're using. Of course, that's what I wanted to tell you about. These are on the last chance list at the time of this recording. This won't actually post on YouTube for a couple of Saturdays after, but I am hoping that this will still be available to you. Like I said, it's on the last chance list. The stamp set is $25 and the dies are marked down to $14. Ridiculous. So you do want to make sure that you rush right over, put those in your cart, and get those before they are gone forever. So I'm going to start by using the stamp that says "Nothing's Better Than" and the stamp "Autumn." And we're going to stamp those right onto our colored cardstock. And I'm going way over to the left and upper corner of my cardstock. All right, and then the autumn stamp is going to also get stamped in early espresso ink, and it's going to be just underneath those words way over to the left, like that. All right, now in just a minute, we're going to do our stamping on this circle, and the circle is going to go here. Before we do that, let's go ahead and add the strip of ribbon. If you really wanted this to be that one step simpler, you could disregard this step, but I'm going to go ahead and show you it with, and you could use whatever ribbon or trim you want, something in a neutral that's going to go with the rest of the card. This is actually a retired ribbon that came out when one of the coffee sets was really popular, coffee or latte. So this is a tan neutral, like a burlap ribbon with little white polka dots. Very, very cute. And I do still have some of this. My piece measures 5.5 inches long. Now to apply this to my card, I'm going to use some mini glue dots. A good choice would also be your tear and tape, but I really like how this works. So this is my first choice. So I'm going to peel this back to reveal the first of the dots, and I'm going to go ahead and press my ribbon onto the glue dot and peel it off of the backing sheet. I'm going to do that about 5 times as I work my way across the length of the ribbon. So this is now the 3rd one, and I'm putting it right in the middle of my piece of ribbon, a 4th one, and then the 5th and final one I'll put at this far end. So I used 5 mini glue dots going all the way across my piece of ribbon. Then I'm going to lay it down end to end, and I do want to show you a trick. The first card that I made that was similar to this, I went ahead and eyeballed it and laid my ribbon down, and it was pretty good, but it wasn't great. It wasn't really, really straight. So what I recommend is at this point, you go ahead and turn your piece of cardstock. This only takes an extra moment in your stamping time, but it makes a big difference. Then you're going to take your metal ruler or any ruler that you have. And I'm also using the grid on my glass mat. I'm just going to lay this. All this is doing is giving me a nice straight edge to follow. So I've got my ruler on, it's lined up with my grid lines, and it's nice and straight on my cardstock. Then I'm going to lay my ribbon right up against the ruler and just keeping it pressed right against the ruler as I lay it onto my cardstock. And boy, did that make a big difference in how straight the ribbon goes on. All right, and then you can press it, and now that is in place. We're going to do some stamping on the circle. And this I haven't done yet because, like I said, I've been doing the other version, which actually took more time. I'm going to show you that one. That one involves die cutting, and this one does not have die cuts. So I'm taking the cup, the little latte or coffee cup, and I'm using my early espresso, and I'm just going to stamp it right here on this circle. And then I'm also going to take the whipped cream. I'm just using the same color ink. You could go with a lighter color for the whipped cream if you want to. And I'm just trying to place it so that the very edge of the whipped cream is at the top edge of my cup, like so. So it's not absolutely perfect, but it's fine. I think it's just fine. All right, I'm going to take some crumb cake Stampin' Blends. I'm starting with light, and I'm just going to give my cup, my drink here, a little bit of color, kind of like it was a latte. I'm going to come in with my crumb cake dark and add a little bit over here on the left side. And then with my light again, I'm going to blend that in. Okay, I'm doing this more for the idea of shadowing or shading. And so as I blend that darker, the light is coming from the right, and so it's a little bit lighter, and the darker is over here on the left, kind of like that. All right, let's take that cute little pumpkin, and we're going to stamp the pumpkin right on the little wrap that goes around the coffee, the little sleeve. And we'll add some orange. Let me get my Pumpkin Pie Stampin' Blends. And I'll use light to fill the whole thing in. And Pumpkin Pie Dark to add a little bit of interest, just some darker areas, like so. All right, now the white piece is just about done. It looks a little bit bare, and so I want to just stamp some leaves. Okay, this is a fall card. I want to just stamp some leaves. Again, we're not doing die cuts on this fast and easy version. So I needed something that was a fall leaf, quite small. So at first I looked at Gathering Moments, and this is beautiful, and I've been using it a lot, but these leaves are just too big for what I'm trying to do on this one. So I reached for a very old, long since retired stamp set called Banner Year, and I'm going to use the leaf that is in that stamp set. So at this point, what you're going to do is just look through your stamps, find something with a small leaf, and go ahead and grab that. Use what you have. All right, at this point, I want my crushed curry ink pad. And I'm going to stamp 2 of these leaves. Maybe one here, one down here. It's just to give it that little fall look. I'm going to clean it and then move to Pumpkin Pie. Timid Tiger would also be a totally acceptable choice at this point. Where is my Pumpkin Pie? I might have to use Timid Tiger if I can't find my pumpkin pie. All right, hold on 1 second while I take a quick look in my other bin. And I have located it. It was definitely waiting to be used. It was sitting in another bin with another project that I have been working on. All right, so now I'm going to take that leaf stamp, clean the ink off of it, and come in with my pumpkin pie. I have a feeling that I'm going to want 3 leaves on this side. Oh, I didn't ink that very well, did I? And probably only 2 on this side. That's much better. When this happens, you can take a chance and try to stamp on top of it again, or just leave it. I'm going to leave my leaf because it's nature and not all leaves look perfect. So let's just leave that. Now I'm going to grab Pecan Pie, which is right here, and just add a final leaf on this left side. All right, just to kind of fill in. You know what? Now that I've done that, I feel like it needs one more. And I'm going to have this one kind of floating in from the top. Let me get a piece of scratch paper here. Kind of floating in from the top up here. All right, I feel like that fills it a little bit better. Otherwise, it looked a little incomplete. Okay, so there we have that. We're going to go ahead and add this to the front of the card. I'm going to do it with some dimensionals, and I'm going to use 5 of them. So top, bottom, right and left, and center. All right, let's release the backings off of those. I'm going to do that over my wastebasket. Drop them right in. Every now and then one will still drift and end up on the floor, but most of them make it into the trash. And we'll just go ahead and place this like so. Look how cute. Now, if you don't want to leave your whipped cream completely white, you can still use your crumb cake in light and maybe just put a teeny bit of color in there if you feel like it needs it. All right, we're going to take this and attach it to our card base. And as I expected, this was very fast, very easy. It's a cute little card. And then stick with me, and we're going to do a version that is stepped up a little bit. All right, so this is going on the Pecan Pie card base, like so. Let's take that white piece that's going to go on the inside, and let's just go back to our leaves. How about that? And we'll do a couple of leaves on this inside piece. Back to pumpkin pie. Let's see if I can stamp it better than I did that first time. And one in crushed curry. So we could have stamped the little pumpkins in the corner or something else, but I just wanted to carry through with the leaves. All right, like that. Let's put that on the inside. And I think with that in mind, what I would do is take that same leaf stamp and scatter some stamped leaves on the envelope to have the envelope coordinate with my card. All right, this is done and ready, and that is in place on the inside. Let's add just a couple of embellishments. I have these neutrals adhesive backed sequins, and I'm going to pull, I think on this one I'm going to use the dark brown. So we'll do 2 here and a final one down here. And there you have it. Very sweet, fast and easy, full of fall, and very fun to make. All right, so let me show you the stepped up version, which was actually my original one. So once again, we're going to start with a piece of pecan pie as our card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4 inches. We're going to use the same crushed curry on the top in the front, and we will, I almost used pecan pie. We'll use early espresso. For both words up here, the nothing's better than and the autumn. This piece can go on the front. I know we did that at the end on this one, but it doesn't matter. All right, let's apply the same ribbon. So far it's the same. And then I'll be showing you the elements that make it a little bit fancier. Oh, these are sticking to my nails. 3, 4, and the 5th one. All right, I'm going to use that same ruler trick that I showed you before. Laying this nice and straight. Laying my ruler nice and straight. And I would say that it is, let's just see, 1.5 inches. I'm putting my ruler about 1.5 inches from the bottom of the card, I would say. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit further, because I got to leave room for the width of my ribbon. So I'm about 2 inches up from the bottom of the card when I start laying my ribbon in place. That seems a little high. Let's split the difference. Let's just split the difference. There we go. All right, laying it down. And just so you know, if when you get to this part, if you do still need to lift this up and reposition, you will be able to, because you haven't pressed it down real hard. So you still have an opportunity to straighten out or readjust it if you need to. Then once you're happy with it, give it a good press. Okay, now this is where it gets different, and this is where it's really fun. So instead of that white circle, I took some Gathering Moments Designer Series paper, and I used the same die, and I cut out this gorgeous plaid circle with that foil look in it. So, so pretty. And this is going to go onto our card instead of the plain white, but we're going to add our extra elements on here. So I pulled from some retired dies and I did some cutting, and I have some leaves here. Again, look through your stash and see what you have. And I have one in Cajun Craze, crushed curry, and pumpkin pie. And what I'm going to do is add those to my circle first. So my pumpkin pie one is going to come down here between kind of like 4 and 5 o'clock, if this was a clock. And my crushed curry one is going to go over here just about at the 9 o'clock, kind of like that. All right, then I took some scrap white and I stamped both the coffee cup and the whipped cream onto scrap, and then I die cut them. So this time the dies came into the process, and we've got these die cuts. So I'm going to use the same coloring that I did on the other one, fill it in with Crumb Cake Light above and below the little coffee sleeve. Come in with dark crumb cake, just a teeny bit. And then use my light to blend those all together. All right, so there we've got our coffee all colored and blended. There's actually already some of this light crumb cake on this one, I just noticed. All right, now I'm gonna take my glue and just put a couple little drops here, about 4 or 5 tiny baby drops right at the top of the cup, and then take my whipped cream and go ahead and lay it right there. This time you get to go for perfection because you're using a die cut, so you can put it right exactly where you want it. Then I'm going to flip this whole thing over and add 2 dimensionals to this. And I'm going to strategically place one of them right over the seam where the whipped cream meets the cup to just reinforce that staying in place, and one down here at the bottom. All right, while we're at it, we're going to add, well, let's go ahead and put this in place and then we'll finish this. We're going to add some dimensionals to that. All right, so now I can put my die cut coffee right here into place. Look at over those die cut leaves, so cute. And I took the pumpkin stamp, stamped it on a scrap, and colored and die cut it as well. So we're going to use a little die cut pumpkin with a teeny little baby dimensional. And put this in place on the sleeve. Little sleeve of the coffee cup. Look how cute. All right. So now we've got some pretty paper. We've got die cut leaves, our die cut focal image, and then this little pumpkin popped up even another layer. Let's flip this over and add our 5 dimensionals. Top, bottom, right and left, and one in the center. Okay, I'm gonna peel those off and do it right over my trash can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we can bring that card in with our ribbon. Go ahead and position this right there. Positioning and everything is the same as the first card. Give that a good press so our dimensionals can grab onto the cardstock, and then we're going to do one extra thing on this one that we did not do, plus we're going to add our little sequins, and this time, just to change it up a little bit, let's use the gold. We'll pick up the gold that is in the paper. All right, and then to finish this one off, I'm going to take my linen thread, which is here, and you can do this either way you want. You either need 2 6-inch lengths, or I think it's faster to just cut a 12-inch. Like that. Then I'm going to fold it in half. And cut it. So now I've got my 2 6-inch lengths. Then with this, I'm going to pull it a little bit to get some of that kink out. I'm going to hold these together and tie just a very simple, tiny bow. You might be able to do it with less length, but sometimes you need enough to work with. By the time you get your loops and your tails the way you want them, sometimes you need that length. All right, so I've got my loops, I've got my tails, I'm tightening it up in the knot in the center, and then I'm actually going to pull and make my loops a little bit smaller. Like I said, this is a teeny little bow, like that. Okay, you can see that. Let me take my scissors and snip the ends. This one almost doesn't need to be snipped on this side, but we'll just clean it up a little bit. And let's make this side match. There we have it. Okay, reaching for a mini glue dot. This time I'm going to go ahead and peel it off of the roll instead of pressing it into the glue dot. That was easy with the ribbon, but I feel like this is easier when you're using the twine. It's just so delicate and narrow. So I've pulled off my glue dot. I'm going to go ahead and kind of make it into a little ball. I'm going to put it back on the tip of my Take Your Pick tool. Drop this right here on the card where I want my bow. And then I'm just going to squish. I'm going to nestle this bow right into that glue dot. Like so. Look at how stinking cute. Can't you just smell pumpkin pie baking? Oh my goodness. Okay, let's do the inside. I've got my white piece, and in this case, we're going to use that third leaf that I told you that I die cut. So instead of stamping on the inside, I'm going to add this beautiful leaf in Cajun Craze right here to the corner of the card. And we will add this to the inside. So in this case, since I did not stamp any leaves on the card, I would probably do something different on my envelope. I would either make a flap out of the matching paper, the little back flap on the envelope, or maybe I would just stamp some of these cute little pumpkins on the envelope along with maybe the word autumn. I think that would be cute too. All right, this is going inside. And you kind of have a 2-for-1 today. You have our fast and easy card as well as this stepped up version. I appreciate you watching so very much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed this card. I would love to hear your comments. And also, even though you're already following or subscribing here on YouTube, also find me on Facebook at Stamp with Julie Baum. And you can be sure to stay up on some of the events that I have coming up. I have a mystery stamping event coming, and I also have some other classes and other things that you might want to know about. I do have a card swap going also. So be sure and ask questions, catch me on Facebook, or leave your comments and questions here. And until next time, happy stamping.